Well, Jim, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's a very exciting for me to get to talk to you today.
Oh, thank you, Lucas. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. My first introduction to you was when you were Will's teacher of Western philosophy in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and
Yeah.
I remember watching that episode and just kind of thinking, that's just Robin Williams in a different suit, and it was so entertaining. And to me, impressions are always, ironically, super impressive when people can do them well. When did you start learning, or when did you figure out that you could do impressions?
Well, thank you. First of all, yeah, that Will Smith show was back in 1994. It's a long time ago, but I had a great time. And indeed, you're right. You spotted it was modeled after Robin Williams in Dead Poets Society. That was kind of the concept that the producers had. It was that kind of professor, and it was a kind of actually a sort of a backdoor pilot to a series that never happened. But
Oh,
uh, I think it's the one thing that I've done that I'm recognized for most consistently, and often at the airport going through security. So I don't know why that is, but that's my biggest. Some of my biggest fans have wound up working for the TSA. But I was a child of an actress and a former actor. My father had been an actor before I was born, and my mother is a professional or was a professional actress. And so I grew up kind of playing around with things like theatrical forms, voices, accents, and little scenes and little skits and plays like that. It was a very big part of my growing up, both my sister and I. And so I was always interested in the voice because my mom had kind of she'd sort of introduced me to it and introduced me to other performers that were good vocal performers like the great Danny Kaye or the great Peter Sellers or and of course Rich Little, who I stumbled on once or twice in my youth. And so I was hip to the idea that this is a fun way to play. And so I always just did it because it was fun. I didn't have any big goals or dreams of having a room in Las Vegas where I would work and, wear a powder blue tuxedo and make sophisticated people laugh amidst, gusts of cigarette smoke. That never really occurred to me and still doesn't. I'm not not even vaguely interested in that. But I did develop a skill set that I later was able to parlay into a career.
yeah. Do you remember the first voice that you learned to do?
Well, the first voice that I felt secure about, or confident enough to go to myself, think, yeah, I recognize "Well, that's right on. That's right in there. Was when I was about 8 or 9, and there was a performer called Tiny Tim, whose real name was Herbert Buckingham Coury, and he had a hit record in the '60s where he would sing 1920s songs in falsetto and strum a ukulele.
Hmm.
And I could do his voice very well because my voice had not changed yet, and his he was in falsetto, so we met in the middle, and it was good stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then as you got older, was the goal to learn more voices for a job, or was it still just a hobby at that point?
Well, as I got older, I always did it to entertain people. I always did it to entertain my friends. And if someone was having a play and they needed a specific kind of accent in high school and college, I could usually get those roles because nobody had put in the time that I had put in on learning specific accents. And in learning specific accents, you become very familiar with how you sound and how to change your sound. And so, and there were certain performers too that I liked to imitate. Like I used to watch Happy Days every Tuesday because my mom was on the show. And on Wednesday morning at high school, everybody would be talking about the show, and I'd be doing the voices of Fonz. It's and then the Fonz said this, and Ron Howard. I could imitate Ron Howard, Richie Cunningham, and Ralph Malph and Potsy and all these guys. And I could do all these voices, and it was just a way of recapping, just like anybody does. You go, hey, remember that part in the TV show? Remember that part in the movie? Or where the guy did this? And you can recount what occurred in the voice that you heard.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like it's so impressive how you just kind of switch between all those voices right in a row. That's
Well,
awesome.
yeah, I'm very facile with it because I've done it all for years and years. And I got a lot of practice when I was in New York and I finally made a decision to become an actor. That was a thing that kind of was a tough decision to arrive to comfortably. But when I made that decision, I did a lot of improv. And I got involved with an improv company and then another one, and then did live shows every weekend for just years and years. And the effect of that is you prove to yourself that you can do certain things that maybe you didn't know you could do, and you once like somebody created this improv form for me to do a little bit of a routine every week where I would switch from character to character, and the audience would call out names of celebrities, and I would switch, 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 switch. And after a few months of doing that, a few years of doing that, it became very simple. I knew exactly how to do it, and I've been able to do it ever since. And it's a nice magic trick.
Right. Has the process for learning a new voice changed from maybe when you were first started to now?
Yeah. Well, I used to have to depend entirely on my memory, which was young and springy at the time. And now I go to YouTube, and we didn't have that YouTube tool before. So now, if you go, people, my agent can say, "Hey, can you do Mads Mikkelsen?" And I'm like, "Mads Mikkelsen, I think I know who that is." So I'll look him up on YouTube, and then I'll be able to hear it. I'll be able to repeat it, play it over and over again. It's like a library that's right there, accessible. And I never had that before. I had my memory, and I had a good memory, and I can hear voices inside my head that I'm very familiar with, and I know enough about my own equipment that I can work on matching it pretty well. But there's nothing like being able to call up Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth on your YouTube channel and go, okay, let's hear that again. Let's hear it again and really zone in on it. That's why I think now there's lots and lots of guys who are terrific mimics and terrific impressionists because they have this fantastic tool called the internet where they can just look things up and practice all they want.
Yeah. How long would it typically take to hear a voice, memorize it, or how many watches would it take before you can get it 90% of the way there?
I don't know that figure. I don't know those metrics. All I know is, you work at it till you get it. And you work at it till you get it to a point where it is acceptable for the kind of assignment that it is.
Right.
For example, if we're just trying to make people laugh on stage, it doesn't really have to be dead on. Uh, it's nice and it's kind of shocking to people if it's really, really close. But for the purpose of telling a story or telling a joke or something like that, it isn't that important.
Right.
If you're doing a voice compared to doing a voice for a film where they're trying to actually replace an actor's voice because this is what's going to be on the airplane, without all the swear words, or we've changed a line, or this is for the trailer, and we don't want anyone to doubt that this was Colin Firth or Robert De Niro. We want to think it's exactly the voice and that they did the recording. Then the bar is a little higher, quite a bit higher, and and from my experience, you can't get good enough. You can just keep pushing it better and better and better. And of course, now there's AI, and so a lot of that work is going to go away because it's much more efficient to just take the actor's voice and scrub it and utilize it that way. But it's been fun.
Well, I'm sure there will be people out there that appreciate an actual human being able to do it and will use an actual human that's able to do it. I'm sure of that. With these voices that you do, when you started getting into acting, did you realize that you maybe hit a gold mine with how many voices you could do?
Well, it started slowly, but the first jobs I did get in New York were voiceover jobs, sound-alike jobs, impressions, if you will,
Hmm.
and so um, that was always that was always something I offered, and it was helpful. When you work, in starting off work, you want to be helpful to people. Ideally, you want to be indispensable. You don't want to be irreplaceable. Like nobody else can do what you do. That's the best. But there's all kinds of stages in between from that. And so when I started out, it turned out that what people needed was certain kinds of voiceover delivery in the styles of whoever was current at the day. And I could do a lot of those, and I was flexible and willing to do it. And so I built a kind of a reputation. But I also did a lot of other work that didn't have anything to do with impressions. I was an illustrator. I designed cartoon characters for the first Thundercats show. And I also just did voiceovers sounding like a nice young 20-something and then a nice young 30-something person. And and on and on, so without trying to affect any other personality. So it was always something that was in my wheelhouse, but I didn't really focus on it until much, much later. And then I realized it was a really prime piece of my marketing that needed to always happen because it was the beginning of so many things. Like you mentioned that Will Smith show. I never would have gotten that Will Smith show if I hadn't promoted myself as an impressionist.
Right.
And then that was the first TV show I ever did. And many, many television shows I've done have been as an impressionist, other times just as an actor. Like I'm in a show called Landman right now, where I play a family attorney. And, I'm not really imitating anybody. I'm putting on just a little bit of a Texas accent, but that's, my father's from Texas. It's not difficult to do. And, uh, and I'm in a movie called Hungry, which is opening this month in June nationwide on I guess it'll be on streaming. It's going to be by the time your audience sees this, it will have already been in and out of theaters, but it's going to be on streaming somewhere, video on demand, Hungry, where I play a retired New York fire chief. Um, so, it's it's what I like to do to get in front of an audience, put together a one-man show, do my George W. Bush for people who still remember the president of the used to was United States, and Sir Patrick Stewart, which is a big favorite, frankly, and we all love Sir Pat because he's so elegant and quotable. And Robin Williams, of course, and I've been doing the Blue Genie for Disney for quite some time. I don't know if it's over now or not. I can't tell. They don't actually give you the shit can. They keep it somewhere in a vault, I guess. Anyway, so I love to get in front of audiences like that and to see the reaction, to have fun with them, and to also just sort of the challenge of it, the challenge of doing 70 or 80 voices in an evening is delightful.
That was, I mean, what a voice to be able to do, Robin Williams, because I feel like we see him so many times not even doing his own voice, right? Doing some weird permutation of his voice or an
That's
impression
right.
of somebody else. But
That's right.
to hear his voice come from someone that's not him, that's really cool. I feel like you don't see that a lot.
Well, there's a few of us, but we don't like to get together because it turns violent very quickly. But yeah, it's a wonderful beingness, and people love it, and they love to hear the voice again. And I've been doing it for Disney for quite a long time. He was still alive when I started, and had to approve my impression, so that
Wow.
was an honor. And I've done it for video games and parades and ice shows and all sorts of things, cruise ships.
And you've
But
done
when I started out, I tell you, when I started, I was I had real problem with stage fright. Uh, and the biggest barrier that I had starting out as a young actor was I was very, very nervous about being on stage, nervous about being kind of judged by people. And when you have something as delicate as this little art form, where it's like, I think I sound like this guy. I don't know. What do you think? And before you've really attained some professional status and gotten confidence that way, it's very tender, the whole field of creation that way. And I felt just very like with very close friends, I would reveal myself to be an impressionist. I would show them what I could do, and they would laugh and have a great time. But then once we started to move outside that circle, I froze because I was so cautious and so unwilling to have someone criticize what I was doing because I didn't have enough confidence and just sort of personal wherewithal to endure it. I felt like it was going to be too tough, and I was just super nervous about it. And the way I got through that was, believe it or not, was a book. I read a book called Dianetics back in 1983 or 82. And this book has been around a long time. It's written by L. Ron Hubbard. It's called The Modern Science of Mental Health. And it breaks down why people get anxiety. And it gives you methods for handling it. And so I put that book to work. And within a pretty short time, months, I was comfortable with performing, eager to perform, working as a professional. So that Dynetics book really helped me out a lot.
Do you still experience any maybe bats of stage fright or something like that, or is it gone entirely?
It's pretty much gone. I like to be in front of an audience. I tell you, the only times I ever feel a little bit trepidatious is if I'm not prepared. And if preparation is important, like with improv, you're not prepared. Yeah, of course you're not prepared. We don't expect you to be prepared. I'm very comfortable with improvisation. I'm very comfortable when I've learned my lines and when I know what I'm doing. There have been a couple of occasions in the past where I was not given a script until the night before or not enough time. And I'm barely holding on to the whole thing. And then if you're in front of then a room full of extras and crew and cameras and lights and sound director, then it's like, oh my God, I got to get through this. I got to make this happen. But for example, I was on America's Got Talent in 2013, and that was in front of 6,000 people at the Radio City Music Hall. And I was very comfortable and I was excited. And that again is a win from Dianetics and from all the performing that I've been doing because I know what my purpose is. I'm trying to make a group of people laugh. If I can make 6,000 people laugh, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm really doing my job. I think you've interviewed Tom Cotter. I'm sure he felt the same way. It's an exhilarating feeling to do that and to bring a positive change to so many people in an instant.
How often does it happen where you're getting a script the day or the night before anymore?
Well, it generally doesn't happen on television or in film. It does happen all the time on video games. In fact, I walk into video game sessions with no idea what I'm going to do because you're usually so tight about it. It's so secret and so proprietary, and you have to sign all these non-disclosure agreements that they just don't want to let it out of the house. So when you get in, and it's often very often got a false name too. So that you say, "Oh, you booked PNY," and you're like, "PNY? What ponies, podiatrists, youthful?" No, no, it's a code name for, you know, the uh, the mauve crystal or something. Like, oh, the mauve. Yeah, oh, okay, I remember that, the mauve crystal. So there's so much secrecy that they don't let things out of the bag. So you walk in and they go, okay, well, you're playing wizard Philo, who is, and then you see the script for the first time, which is basically a spreadsheet full of various lines, and then they have to explain to you what's happening in the scene. So my improv experience really has stood me in good stead because I have to make very fast acting choices and decisions because there's virtually zero prep time.
Right. And
But
and
it doesn't make me nervous though because I'm reading it. I don't have to, and they are mindful of the idea that, well, we're going to have to work this out. We may have to do this 3 or 4 times. But, I pat myself on the back. I'm able to go in, do a cold reading, 1 or 2 takes, we move on. That's what a professional does, and all my fellow video game voiceover people uh, that you would know, they all do that too. They walk in and go, "Okay, he's in the cave now? Okay, is he shouting? Okay, here we go." And then they can do it.
yeah, and you've done so many different types of video games in that sense. You've done, there's Call of Duty games that you've done, Batman games that you've done,
Yep.
Disney games that you've done, like you said, but you've also done everything in film, TV. Is there a specific type of project that you're always the most excited to do?
Well, I have to say, like this show Landman that I'm on, I've done 3 episodes of it, and I hope to be back for season 3. It's the thing that differentiates it is really good writing,
Mm.
an interesting story, and terrific performers.
Oh yeah.
then you feel like, okay, now we can really build something of quality. At this stage in my career, I'm not chasing certain things. If I'm chasing anything, I'm chasing quality. And I got to work with Billy Bob Thornton and Demi Moore,
Mm.
and uh, and I've worked with Sean Penn and Julia Roberts on a show called Gaslit. Good writing, good directing, good storytelling. It's it's a wonderful challenge, and because often you work just as hard for a bad show or harder, and and at the end of the day, you're like, I don't even want to watch this show. But a show like Landman, I'm buying Paramount Plus. I'm paying for it because I really want to see the show, and I happen to be in it. That's great, but it's a really good show. So that has rewards on many levels. So that's what I'm into right now. Plus, I'm developing my own stuff too, which I think will also be very good. I've got a screenplay that we're in the middle of starting to produce, and it's about an impressionist in Las Vegas. And that movie, we got that out, the script out to various big name talent to accompany me in it. And so that's the kind of thing I'm interested in right now. Real quality, something that really presents me at my best and demands from me the most that I have.
Yeah. That's it's really cool to see just how much and how many different projects you've done. You go from, Fresh Prince, where it's a goofy sitcom and you do all these different voices, and then you're in video games about Batman or something like that, and then these highly dramatic TV shows like Landman. Do you ever do you ever feel the need to just be like, you know what? I've done just about everything I could possibly wanted. I'm going to go right off into the sunset and just live the rest of my life? Or is this just, do you love this too much?
Well, I'll clue you in. I thought about this earlier. I'm 60, what am I? 66 now. I'll be 67 this year. And when I was a little kid, somebody who was 66 was retired. We didn't expect anything from somebody who was 65 years old. They were like, or if they said they were going to do great things, we'd go, yeah, whatever, grandpa. Today we have a whole different culture. We have a whole different levels of longevity. We have a lot of financial demands and other demands on us. And I realize that creative people, we don't really get the idea of, well, this is probably my last thing, or I might as well go off into the sunset, as you said, because we are always interested in finding something new to do. And I'm an artist. I like to draw. I like to write. I like to write songs. I like to perform. And as strange as it may seem, if you think of this as being what you see as a filter, one of these old guy filters that you can put on yourself, and I have a filter on, but really who I am is a youthful, creative, energetic person who's just getting started in his career. So I have no illusions about ending off things. I have no intention, and I don't have the chance to do such a thing. I have to keep moving. I'm like a shark. I got to keep moving, and it's great. That's how my mother lived her life, and it's how most artists that I admire. Uh, why stop? If you can still do it, if you still have goals, there's plenty of things I haven't done. I've just scratched the surface of what I'm capable of and what people could enjoy that I could do. I'm going to be like a fantastic old guy actor, that people go, man, did you see that movie? He's got to be 80, but he was awesome. I just worked with William Shatner a couple of weeks ago, the great William Shatner, and Bill Shatner is 95 years old, 95 freaking years old, traveled alone, worked 4 days, took off, did a planned show for 2 days, came back, did a show with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now he's doing his equestrian show. Bang, 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 sharp as a tack. That's what I want to be like. I want to be like Bill Shatner.
That's awesome. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time. It's been great to talk to you about all these different things. My final question for you, and I didn't prepare you for this one. Do you have what are your top five favorite impressions that you can do?
Well, I like the Tommy Lee Jones. I'm sure a lot of your friends and fans know about Tommy Lee Jones. He's a terrific actor. He always seems so difficult to please, I guess you'd say. Marvelous, marvelous actor. And of course, Patrick Stewart, the great Patrick Stewart. I do a more sort of robust, younger, enterprise leading Patrick Stewart than the one who is getting rather long in the tooth and reaching that last act of his life. And of course, Robin Williams, people, you mentioned Robin Williams, we talked about it a lot. It's something, I have to speed up my thinking, I have to speed up my vocabulary, I have to keep my mind out of the gutter. It's a wonderful experience. Uh, let's see, George W. Bush comes to mind also. Uh, he comes to his mind and my mind, and it's a whole mind-a-palooza. And let's see, who else could I do for you? Robert De Niro, of course. Robert De Niro's mouth is upside down. He's become a much more public figure, so he's more controversial, I guess. But anyway, a lot of fun to do.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and doing this interview. It's been great to talk to you. It's been an honor to talk to you. Do you have any projects or social media that you'd like to promote here in the last few minutes?
Yeah, go see Hungry. It's this great survival thriller about a ravenous hippopotamus in the swamps of Louisiana that I'm a part of. And that's going to be on video on demand starting June 23rd.
Okay.
Check it out. We had a lot of fun making it in Malta. I'm in Landman, season 1 and season 2. Hope to be in season 3. Check that out. And people can always check up on me on social media, Instagram at Jimpressions. Just look up Jimpressions on YouTube as well. And my own website, jimmeskimen.com, where I've got online courses if anyone's interested in voice impressions or having a career as an actor. I have created a whole bunch of videos about how I did it and how I continue to do it. And so that's available for people too.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jim, and we are going to send it back to me in the studio.